Hey guys, so do you know how like when you're starting to hit nerves with your message? It's when people start when the haters come out of the woodwork. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of In the Middle, and I'm glad you made it back for another episode. We are now. It is Friday, and we're a few days removed here from the presidential election cycle. Which, thank God, right? Like no more ads on TV, just bombarded. No more mailers coming in. So we are winning like all the way around. We got a good president-elect coming in. We're not getting the commercials anymore. We're not getting the mailers anymore. It's like not to steal from Ronald Reagan's old campaign, but I believe the sun has risen in America again. It just feels better, right? Is it just me, or does anybody else out there feel lighter, right? Feel good about what's going on? Because I sure do. Like it just feels like I weigh, and hey, no fat jokes here, and don't make fun of how chunky I've gotten. But I just feel like I weigh like 10 pounds less. I wish I looked like I weighed 10 pounds less, but I definitely feel like I weighed 10 pounds less than I did on Monday. It just feels good. It feels lighter. It feels like America is on the right track. We're going down the right road. So it just feels good going into a weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I'm so happy that you came back for another episode of In the Middle. So I just want to clarify a couple things right out of the gate on the show here on this episode. So I want you guys to I don't feel like I remind you enough. Like In the Middle, the whole concept of the show is that I just don't subscribe to party politics anymore. It doesn't mean I don't have opinions about certain things. It doesn't mean I'm a complete centrist. It just means I reject party politics. And I think when you reject party politics, you're able to call out both party shenanigans, right? When you're able to escape groupthink, you're able to escape the mob, and get out of the mindset that only your side could possibly be right. And I started shifting that way more and more and more over the last, couple years, and to the point where now I just, I just can't, I can't bring myself to be a part of any one party. It's like, for example, here in Ohio, we have a Republican governor, and I was originally registered Republican because in the state of Ohio, like many other states, whichever primary you vote in, you're automatically registered for that party. But I did find myself identifying more with conservatives and Republicans. But we have a Republican governor here I can't stand because he's a career politician. He's feckle, he's horrible, and I can't wait till he's gone in 2026. But the more I watched everything play out in America, the divisiveness that these two political parties put us in, the more I started despising the two-party system. And our founding fathers actually were against, the party system as well, and especially two-party system, because it consolidates power, right? That's why I wrote the book that I did, because it talks about the illusion of choice that the two-party system has created. And I just want to make sure I clarify that, why the show exists, why it's called In the Middle, where I really sit, because it seems like lately the haters have been coming out of the woodwork on some of my messaging. And they're like, well, how can you be in the middle or nonpartisan, but support Donald Trump? It's like to try to explain this over and over again is crazy. So I just want you guys to I want to be able to point you back to the show and say, this is why, because yes, I don't subscribe to the two-party system. I don't donate to them. I don't volunteer for them. I don't like them. I won't vote down ballot just because. But I had to pick somebody to support. And I truly believe if Donald Trump didn't need a base to get through a primary system, because that's how our system is designed, right? If you don't have the base, you're not going to get through the primary system. I think he would have ran as an independent or a third party or whatever. But he found himself aligning more with Republicans and conservatives, and that just seemed to make the most sense. But to say that he's like a hard party liner is crazy, because look at how much he dumped on the Bushes and Cheney and their warmongering, and so and that's kind of where I'm at. That's why the show is In the Middle. I'm not partisan. I won't just support somebody because they have an R or a D next to their name. I want to know what they've done. I want to see them in action. I want to know what their policies are. And I won't subscribe to a party. But that doesn't mean I don't have opinions. That doesn't mean that I don't have a candidate that I will pick, because I also want to do my civic duty and vote. So I just want to make sure I clear that up. And I also want to clear up, if it, I'm okay with people disagreeing with me. This is not a news show, right? I am not putting myself out here as some expert in any one category, whether it be policy or whatever. This is the whole concept of doing the show is to give voice to the perspective of the common American that sits out here in the middle. Not only the middle of the country, but the middle of the political spectrum, that doesn't really care for party politics, that just wants common sense solutions. We want to be able to raise our families, make some money, do what we want to do, be left alone by our government. And that's it. And we're tired of the divisiveness. We're tired of being called racist and misogynist for no other reason than somebody needs, political talking points and needs to score political points in an argument. And we're just tired of it. And that's the whole premise of me doing the show, is to lend a voice to common American people I talk to on a daily basis around the country and around Ohio. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. It's an early morning gurgles. You know what I'm talking about. But just an unpolished, unapologetic voice for middle America. That's why it's in the middle. It's kind of like a double entendre. Like, I'm in the middle of the country. I'm in the middle of the political parties. I don't subscribe to one side or the other. And my opinions come from that perspective. So at no point am I going to say I am an expert in policy and this and that. Now, I have opinions on policy. I have opinions on how the government should run. And I will share those on this show. But if you want to disagree with that, that's great. And I, encourage discourse, and I encourage conversation and debate and all that stuff, because everybody has a difference of opinion. But the one thing I will ask of you is if you're going to disagree, just disagree, right? Like, so for you haters out there that have been taking some of my videos and splicing them up and turning them into something that I didn't say or out of context, if you're going to disagree, at least do it genuinely. That's my only ask. Don't be so disingenuous because you're desperate for views to take my stuff and splice it up and take it out of context of the full episode or the full video. So if you want to know what I'm really saying in the full context, then watch the episode or listen to it on Apple or Spotify. Just don't be disingenuous about it and splice things up because you need views. Because it's just disingenuous. And anybody that listens to the full episode would know, like, you're totally taking things out of context. Now, I am all for having healthy debate and disagreement. I think we need more of that in America. But we have to get back to a point where it's like genuine disagreement and not misconstruing and taking people's words out of context, because that's what we've seen for the last 9 years with even Donald Trump, is the media just takes little sound bites, little clips, and they edit them and they splice them and they take his words out of context to spin a narrative that they want you to believe about how he's dumb, stupid, whatever, racist, misogynist. It goes on and on and on. And it's just sad when I see people online or on certain social platforms doing the exact same thing that the garbage media does. And so I just think we're better than that. And if you want to do it, fine. But I think it's cheap and lame, and I think we're better than that. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But I've got a couple things that I want to talk to you guys today about. I saw this video over on TikTok, and I thought, wow, that's really good. And it's basically asking Democrats and liberals, hey, do you really believe in the things that you've been pushing for over the last few weeks or few years? Because now Donald Trump has won. Do you still believe in some of these crazy radical things that you were saying? Because now if you do, then you have to support it if Donald Trump does it. And it's quite the conundrum, right? It kind of shows how ridiculous some of these things were. I'm going to play that video for you, and we're going to talk about that. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about today is the transition and the transition team and how you're going to start noticing, because I've already noticed it. You're going to start noticing over the next few days, weeks, how the media is going, and all the talking heads, they're going to keep mentioning how the transition of Trump and his transition team. And there's a reason why I think they're going to keep hammering on that. So I want to talk to you guys about that today too. But before I jump into all that, guys, if you haven't, and I know some of you are probably getting tired of me hearing me say it, but if you haven't went out and got a copy of We the Puppets, the audience for the best illusion ever performed, please go do so today. It's a great book. You guys are going to love it. The feedback has been awesome. Thank you to all of you who went out and picked up a copy, and for the feedback you've been giving me. I got an email from somebody yesterday that was like, hey, man, just finished the book, spot on, loved it, thank you. And I'm like, that is so nice. And I'm not even sure who it is. Actually, no, they left the comment on the website. But thank you, everybody, for going out and picking it up. It really means the world to me. And if you think it's good and it has value and other people should read the book and get the message, go pick up a couple extra copies, hand them out to friends and family. It would mean the world to me. And most importantly, if you bought it, go write a review over on Amazon. And that just helps push it up so more people can find it organically. It would mean the world to me. And if you guys are listening to this over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please just take 5 seconds out to hit that follow button. Leave me a review and a rating. That will help push the show over there up into the algorithm. And it just helps people find the show. And it would mean the world to me. So thank you. And if you guys haven't went over to TikTok and followed me over there, please do so. I know it might be banned in America in January, and then I'll be forced to like start building a new platform on a different social media site potentially. But for all the talk about TikTok, it is one of those places where like you can get a lot of reach fast. Just in 2 weeks, I've had over 1.1 million views on the content for the show. So the message is getting out there over on TikTok more so than on, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And, I stream to Facebook and YouTube, and we put the videos on Rumble. But TikTok is really carrying the weight right now. 1.1 million views in 2 weeks. You can't, that's more views than the mainstream media is getting. So I'm kidding. But it has a lot of power, and it's going to suck if I've got to rebuild a new platform here in January, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But if you haven't followed me over on TikTok, go follow me over there. So I want to talk about this transition thing. I think the media they've already started talking about it. If you notice, Kamala Harris brought it up in her concession speech, how we are going to work to transition with the Trump team. The media, the political strategists on, all the networks are saying, Trump needs to work with, the Harris or Biden-Harris team on transition, et cetera, et cetera. And they're going to keep bringing this up. Like it's like the hook, right? They're setting the hook for the punchline that's coming later. And I think they're doing that because Trump has already said, I will pay for my own transition. I don't need the government's assistance, because when you win the election, it's actually in the budget. The government has federal employees and people get brought in to help the incoming administration transition with the outgoing administration. They provide office space. They all this stuff that the government will pay for and provide. And historically, that's always been a very good thing because, we want that peaceful transfer of power and we want it to be smooth. Because that incoming president, he has to, from the moment he or she raises their hand and swears in, they are president, right? They have to go to work immediately, and they are now running the country, right? So it's a very important thing, this transition. We all know that. The media knows that. You know that. The candidates know that. And I think that they're going to keep hammering on this because they're going to use it in their favor. And bear with me here as I go through this. But Trump has stated, I will pay for my own transition. I don't want to use the government. I don't want to use the government services. I don't want to use government facilities. I will 100%, me and my campaign will 100% be the only people involved with our transition into the White House. And I believe this is the setup. Like the media and the talking heads and the strategists are already setting the stage because they keep mentioning it, how they are all about this transition team and helping in the transition and et cetera, because Trump has said, nope, I'm doing it. Trump has even refused to take intel briefings throughout the whole campaign. He has absolutely refused to take any intel briefings. And a lot of the talking heads are out there saying, well, see, he doesn't even want to know what's going on in the world. He's so aloof. He's this, he's that. No. He doesn't want to be blamed for some classified information getting leaked somewhere that he didn't leak. Because the whole point, and where I'm driving home, is the reason Trump didn't take intel briefs, the reason he is not taking the transition team assistance is because he's been through this process once in 2016. And from the very moment he was elected, they started setting him up for failure. Immediately, from day one. I mean, even prior to him winning the election, and this is not fiction. This is not fabrication. It is proven that the Obama administration, the DOJ, were already spying on Trump's campaign. They were wiretapping his phones in Trump Tower and some of his campaign staffers, which was highly illegal. And they did it And they did it. And then when he started transition, they immediately started in that transition period, they immediately started trying to put people in that transition team that were not fans or friends of Trump. You look at the General Flynn, situation. They were already day one trying to manipulate General Flynn and trip him up to make it look like he was some horrible person that was working, horrible deals, like he was some traitor to his country with Russia. And it was all fabrication. Like General Flynn was a patriotic American. Like he served over in Afghanistan and Iraq and did so very diligently and was an amazing general. He just didn't like the establishment bullcrap. And he was very vocal about that. So from the very beginning in this last transition, they tried to set Trump up for failure. And he learned his lesson. He learned his lesson from the first time. So this time around, he's not even going to allow that to happen. And you're going to see news stories about this starting to come out probably next week, where they are going to hammer him and say that he's up to nefarious things because he refuses to utilize the government's transition services. And they're going to spin this as he is refusing to work with the Biden-Harris team to transition administrations. And they're going to spin that into something nefarious. I guarantee you it's coming. And really, it's because they're just going to try to black eye, give him a black eye, damage his reputation more and more and more. That's their whole playbook. And once you realize their playbook, it's really easy to predict their next move. And that's going to happen. They're just going to wring that chamois out that he is refusing to work with the government and the transition teams and the Biden-Harris campaign. And there are nefarious reasons. I don't know what nefarious reasons they're going to attach to it. My gut would be something Russia, right? Because that's Russia. And it's probably them that is working with Russia. That's why they constantly accuse other people of doing it. Because that seems to be what the Democrat Party does all the time, is accuse you of what they do. But you're going to see more of this. And when you do, just understand that the reason this is happening, the reason they're saying this is because, yes, Trump absolutely refuses to use the government provided services, because that would come with buildings that I'm sure the DOJ and the FBI will go in and bug and wire and whatever, and just try anything they can to trip up the new Trump administration, because they did it the first time. It would come with personnel to help. And Trump doesn't want any of that. Like he said, I will pay for it myself. So over the next couple of weeks, don't let the media misconstrue it or mislead you. Trump is transitioning. He will be working with the other administration. He just will not be utilizing government resources to do that. He is going to pay for it out of his own pocket. So when they're trying to tell you he's up to something nefarious because he doesn't want to transition, that's not true. He is transitioning. He will work with the Biden-Harris administration. He's just not going to allow the government to be involved in that process. Because again, he's learned his lesson from the first time. Which gets me into this next topic. So I saw this video and I'm going to play it. It's a little long, but I think it's worth playing it for you guys to hear it. This guy over on TikTok, and I see some of his content from time. I should probably give him a follow. You guys should give him a follow. But it's BandBeard5, I think is his username. And I'll confirm that here in a second. So you guys can go over and follow him on TikTok if you're not already. But I saw this video of him and he posed this really, really good question, kind of along the same lines of like the transition, right? And it's, do Democrats really believe, do you guys really believe in everything you said? Because if so, like if you're actually in agreement with some of these issues that you've said that you would like to see in the last 4 years, then you have to be okay with it now that Trump has won. So let me just play this for you guys here. Check this out.
So do Democrats actually believe in what they claim to believe in? Because you guys were calling for some pretty radical shit because you thought Kamala was going to win in a blue wave. But now Donald Trump has won in historic fashion. He's won the House, he's won the Senate, he won the popular vote, and now he's won the Electoral College. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So when we look at Donald Trump and the Republicans, you're good with getting rid of the filibuster? Because you guys were all for that before. What about stacking the Supreme Court? So you claimed if Kamala got in that she should stack the Supreme Court, add, say, 3 new liberal justices. So can Donald Trump add 3 new conservative justices? Because he's going to have the votes to do it. You already claimed he stacked the Supreme Court simply by filling vacancies. Remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that if the seats come available and you have the votes, you're president for 4 years and you should fill the seats, which is exactly what he did. 9 is the perfect number, according to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Trump didn't change that. What about censorship of free speech and regulating what's information and misinformation? Because you're demanding that X be regulated. It's weird because when it was Twitter and wasn't owned by Elon Musk, you said it was a free independent company and they could censor and do whatever they want and they could censor and remove people at their own will. But now you're claiming that they need to be regulated. And so now what? The Republicans in the House and Senate and the White House get to determine what's information and misinformation? You were even demanding that he be removed from his companies, all of them, and have him arrested because of his viewpoint. So that must still stand so we can go after Zuckerberg and go after anybody else that we disagree with and take their companies away. And we should regulate what's on Facebook and what's on Instagram or any other social media account, right? No, because that would be wrong. That would be fascist. See, that's what you guys call for. We're consistent in our viewpoints regardless of who's in office. You guys never seem to be.
And there you have it. So I saw that and I'm like, yes, let's not forget all these things that you guys were calling for over the last 4 years here, and so it's the band beard 5 is his username over on TikTok. So if you guys are on TikTok, give him a follow, because what a great question. You guys said that if Harris should win, you should end the filibuster. I mean, Harris even said she was in favor of ending the filibuster. So are you guys still okay with now that the Republicans are going to have the White House, the Senate, and the House? It's looking like the House for sure. And that could change. But as of right now, that seems to be the case. So are you okay if the Republicans now end the filibuster to push through everything they want to? Are you guys okay with stacking the Supreme Court? Because you called for that too. If Harris were to win, I literally 2 weeks before the election saw a talking head on, I think it was CNN, say that, we are in favor of the idea of adding justices to the Supreme Court. She didn't use the word stacking, but that's what it is. So, Democrats, liberals, you guys wanted that. Are you still in favor that the United States of America should have more Supreme Court justices? Because, Trump and the Republicans can make that happen if you're still in favor of it. They can still get rid of the filibuster if you're still in favor of that. What about censorship? You guys were literally calling for censorship. Kamala Harris said that the Twitter or X should be monitored for misinformation and disinformation, censorship. You guys said that there's so many people on the left that called for its censorship and to censor viewpoints, political viewpoints that you disagree with. So are you guys still okay with that? Should we go ahead and start censoring, working with Facebook and YouTube and all these and Google to make sure that liberal voices are censored? Because you guys were okay with that when your party was in office. You were okay with that leading up to the 2016 election. You were okay with that when Biden got elected. You were okay with censorship when it was COVID. You were okay with censorship with the 2020 election anomalies. So are we cool? Are you still cool with censorship? Now that the Republicans have full control and Trump is going to pretty much gut all these bureaucracies and put new, fresh people in that actually care about the American people, are you cool with all these radical policies? And I think that's a valid question because you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent on what you're okay with and what you agree with. Because otherwise, if you're not, then you look disingenuous. And it looks like nothing more than what it is, a power grab. What you're actually, because if you're not still in favor of eliminating the filibuster, stacking the Supreme Court, censorship on social media, if you're not still okay with that, then it just proves you only wanted it for the power, for absolute power consolidation. Because if you genuinely believed in those things, you would still want them now, even though the Republicans are taking control of everything. So ask yourself that question. What was your true motive? If you're a Democrat and a liberal today who were okay with all those things, what was the true motive behind you being okay with it? Because you got to be consistent here. You either believed in it because you believed in it with every moral fiber of your being, or you believed in it because what you really wanted was the absolute consolidation of power into a one-party state. So which is it? Should Trump and the Republicans regulate social media now and censor liberal voices? Because that's what you guys were calling for. And then this other thing, you guys were literally calling for the removal the removal of Elon Musk from his companies, the cancellation of any government contract that SpaceX may have, etc. Like, you guys were calling for somebody to be removed from their company. You guys still okay with that? You still okay with the government going out and removing people from their companies and shutting them down? Because there are a lot of liberals out there. Mark Cuban, everybody okay with us going now and shutting down Mark Cuban and removing him as the owner of his basketball team? I mean, serious question, because not that long ago, you guys were saying that this is what should happen in the event Harris wins. So you either believed in it and think that's the right way to do things, or you were only saying it because you wanted to consolidate absolute power. So you're between a rock and a hard place now, Democrats and liberals, because of all the craziness you spewed out there. You're now between the rock and a hard place. Because you either have to admit you still support those items, those things, those policies of remove the filibuster, stack the Supreme Court, censorship, regulating social media companies, the government deciding on what's misinformation and disinformation, removing people from companies. You're between a rock and a hard place, because if you don't say you're still for those things, then it is nothing more than proof that all you were trying to do is consolidate power into a one-party state. It's that simple. And the band Beard 5, which I don't even know where that username came from. I'm assuming, the guy had a big beard if you're listening to this, but I'm assuming his account has been banned several times over on TikTok. And so he's on account number 5. But he brings up a lot of good points. Like, you guys called for some pretty crazy things over the last several years. And so our question to you is, do you still believe in those things? And I would love, put your comments. If you're a liberal Democrat, put your comments below. Do you still believe in eliminating the filibuster? Do you still believe in stacking the Supreme Court? Do you still believe the government should decide what is misinformation and disinformation? Do you believe the government should censor social media accounts and companies? Do you believe that people should be removed from their companies based off of their political ideologies? Because that's what you called for. Do you still believe in it now that Trump has won and the Republicans will gain control of Congress? Let me know, comment, because you are between the rock and a hard place here. And this is why you have to be consistent in your views. Guys, in America, it can't be about absolute power, because absolute power defeats the whole will of the people. There are too many people in this country to give absolute power to one party or the other. Like, just like I wouldn't want to see the Republicans have absolute power, I don't want the Republicans to eliminate the filibuster. I don't want them to stack the Supreme Court. I don't want them to be involved in censorship or deciding what is misinformation or disinformation. I definitely don't want them removing people from their companies and canceling all their contracts just because of their political ideologies. And that even means if you're a radical liberal who thinks crazy town stuff, I don't think you should be censored. I think you should be free to spew all your opinions and then back them up, because your opinions are just your policies, and the things you believe in are just bad. You're not a bad person. It's just your ideas are bad. And when those ideas are debated, the American people get to decide which ideas they align with and which ones they don't. So I don't want the Republicans to do any of those things. And most people in America don't want any party doing those things. But you Democrats and you liberals out there, you've pushed hard for these things. You were very vocal that these are the things you were in support of. So do you still support them now that your party is not in control? Because, if you're going to be anything other than disingenuous, you would have to say you still support these, and then be okay if the Republicans do it. But I think the reality, because going back to what I said yesterday, and I heard it, and I remembered who said it. It was Dan Bongino who said it. And sorry, Dan, if I didn't give you credit on yesterday's episode for it. Yesterday, I just said I heard it said, because I did, but I couldn't remember who said it. But I went back and looked, and it was Dan. But he said, conservatives, Republicans, independents, they just think that liberals are people with bad ideas. But liberals and Democrats think that everybody else are bad people with ideas. So you guys already know the answer. You know that Republicans and Trump, they're not going to do all those things. They're not going to stack the Supreme Court. They're not going to eliminate the filibuster. They're not going to decide what is misinformation or disinformation. They're not going to censor social media accounts because you know that they're just people, right? You know what's true, that they're not bad people. They're good people. And they're not going to do something that would be tyrannical, which is more proof that you're the only party who really truly believes in a tyrannical one-party control. You're the only people that really truly believe in fascism because, like the band Beard 5 said there in that video, those are all fascist things where you're trying to consolidate all the power to one party over the individual rights of all the people. That is the definition of fascism. And there's more. I know the haterades out there are going to try. The hater McGee's are going to try. There is a longer definition, but that is the core. And then you purposely try to oppress your opponents. And that is everything the Democrats have done. So my question to you, and leave your comments, guys. My question to you, Democrats and liberals, do you still support those things? Because you would have to. Otherwise, you're completely disingenuous. And everything you said is garbage. Anyway, that's all I got for today's show, guys. I appreciate you coming back for another episode. Think about it. For you Democrats and liberals out there, think about it. And remember, the whole transition team talk, it's coming. You're going to hear about it, and they're going to rail on it, and they're going to try to make it seem like it's some nefarious thing that Trump doesn't want to use the government's transition services and assistance. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. So just keep an eye out for that. And you Democrats, liberals out there, like, I really want to know. Leave me a comment. Do you still support all those ideologies? Do you support getting rid of the filibuster? Do you support stacking the Supreme Court? Do you support the government deciding what is misinformation and disinformation? Do you support the government regulating social media companies and your freedom of speech? Because remember, the government's going to be Republican here for the next at least 2 years, right? A lot of damage could be done if you guys still support that. I'm sure they could do it. They won't, but they could do it for you if you'd like. But do you guys still support that? Let me know. Anyway, guys, I'll be back on Monday. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend ahead. But until we talk again, guys, stay informed, stay strong, but most importantly, guys, stay in the fight. Okay.